all new 6th Gen 4Runner versus all new Land Cruiser. Both of the top of the line trims here. We have the TRD Pro 6th generation 4Runner, and then we have a first edition. This one is one of 5,000 for the Land Cruiser. If I had to guess the price on the 4Runner, probably gonna be close to 70 grand because of the recent TRD Pro Tacoma pricing, and the price of the Land Cruiser can get up to 70 grand. But in this video, we're gonna look at some of their differences and also some of their similarities, because these two will definitely be cross-shop in the future. So we're gonna start out with what they have in common, and it is the powertrain underneath. So both of these are gonna come with a hybrid 4-cylinder setup, 2.4 liter turbocharged 8-speed transmission. The 4Runner TRD Pro though is going to have a TRD intake, whereas the Land Cruiser over here, it is a very basic engine bay. Now both of them are going to be able to tow upwards of 6,000 pounds depending on the trim level. The Land Cruiser, we get about 25 miles per gallon on the highway. The numbers for the 4Runner, they're not out yet, but we can assume that the 4Runner will get very similar, if not maybe a little bit more than the Land Cruiser when those numbers are revealed. Before we talk about the next thing in common, guys, I want to give a huge shout out to Yodaverse. They are a sponsor here on the channel. If you guys need anything for your 4Runner, Tacoma, Tundra, they'll probably have new Land Cruiser stuff here soon over on their website. I will leave a link for them and a discount code in the description, and also the pinned comment for their site. Go over there, check out anything you guys may need for your Toyota vehicle. Next similarities is going to be the wheelbase on them. So the 4Runner has grown to 112.2 inches, and the Land Cruiser is at 112.2 inches as well. This is important because that is Toyota's holy grail number for wheelbase on their SUVs. The Land Cruiser 300 series overseas has the same wheelbase. The GX that we have here in the States, LX600, all old Land Cruisers of the past. So the 4Runner has definitely grown in size over the 5th generation, and it's very on par with this Land Cruiser 250 series. So the 4Runner is a bit more aggressive in its styling, whereas the Land Cruiser is a bit more classic Toyota with the kind of round headlights here. Heritage style Toyota right here in the grille. A very boxy design, kind of FJ inspired mirror caps, very boxy and old school kind of a Land Cruiser look. Whereas the 4Runner is starting to share some design cues from the Tacoma. However, there is some heritage to this as well, with the grille itself, with the rear window back here, very kind of iconic to a 1st gen or a 2nd gen 4Runner, how it comes up over the top. The C-pillar definitely looks 4Runner. As we look at the whole rear end of this, it looks like a 4Runner. So both of them have really kept their DNA. The 4Runner just a little bit more than the Land Cruiser, because our rear window of this does roll down, whereas on the Land Cruiser, they got rid of some iconic features when the 300 series came out, and that kind of carried over to the Prado. So this is the 250 here in the States, the Land Cruiser Prado overseas, where people want it to have a split tailgate. We do not get that anymore, even though it looks like it. Instead, we just have a pop glass and an automatic hatch. Now, both of these are gonna be very good rugged off-roaders, but the 4Runner is definitely a bit more, this one at least, for the high-speed stuff, since it is a TRD Pro. So we have a bit more aggressive of tires, some Toyo Open Country tires. Nice all-terrain on this. It's nice to see an actual good tread pattern on the TRD Pro. We have billet TRD upper control arms. We have the Fox QS3 shocks down here. Whereas the Land Cruiser comes with these Michelins on it. Not the most aggressive for off-road. This is the top of the line tire and wheel package. They do have a 20-inch wheel. This one is an 18-inch wheel, but that kind of just dips into the luxury a little bit more. And we don't have any crazy suspension setup, no KDSS or EKDSS on the Land Cruiser. But let me know exterior-wise which one you guys would pick. Let's dive on into the inside now, because this is where things are very different. So as we open the door, the Land Cruiser is gonna scream a bit more luxury, especially when compared to this TRD Pro over here. Toyota will be making a platinum version of the 4Runner, so I'll be very interested to see some of the materials that they choose for that. But the Land Cruiser, it's honestly my favorite interior when compared to the new 4Runner, the Sequoia, and the GX. I think that Toyota knocked it out of the park for this interior, and especially with the first edition, with all the soft touch materials, the seats themselves, everything is honestly like really premium on the inside here. As we go on in, we can see the heritage style kind of continues with this older Toyota logo here in the steering wheel. Other models will have like cloth seats that are inspired from like older Toyotas. Like when I sit in the 58, it feels just like I'm sitting in my old 95 4Runner. But aside from that, this interior is very unique just to the Land Cruiser. So you have a 12.3-inch screen right here, another 12.3-inch screen in the dash. All Land Cruisers are going to come as a full-time four-wheel drive vehicle. So the 4Runner is part-time four-wheel drive. We'll talk about that when we go over there. But the Land Cruisers, all of them, are a full-time four-wheel drive system. With all the Land Cruisers too, you get a center locking diff, a rear locking diff, front stabilizer disconnect, and multi-train select and your crawl control. Now, I believe on the 58, I can't remember which one, I don't think you get the crawl control with it or the multi-train select. I can't remember exactly which one, but as you step up into the Land Cruiser and also the first edition trims, you get all the off-road goodies. Here's a closer look at our dash, different like kind of shift knob than the 4Runner has, all USB-Cs, and we have a wireless charger right here. You have a center console. This one can come with a cool box. As we come into the back seat of the Land Cruiser, you will see that we have some soft touch material still all throughout. The one thing that I like about this is we have HVAC up in the ceilings, which you don't over in the 4Runner, and it is a 3-zone climate control, so it's all controlled right there. So the seats on the Land Cruiser, they will tumble forward, and also we can fold them down right here. We have a little bit of a gap, so it's not perfectly flush. The seat can tumble all the way forward if you had to access stuff in the back. And then here's a closer look at some of the storage right there. We do have cup holders still back here, even in a production model, even though the Land Cruiser for the United States does not come as a 3-row SUV. And as we come to the back of the Land Cruiser, it is a automatic rear hatch. We have our tow hitch receiver back there. Just the looks of the rear end of the Land Cruiser, I feel don't look as good as the 4Runner. We do have a 2400 watt outlet back here, which is nice. We got some of Chloe's stuff, but we do have some storage right under here. Kind of cheapy feeling a little bit. We could see that with this little mat on it, but you could see that it's just like kind of like a little storage that opens up. So as we go on into the 4Runner now, it is very Tacoma-esque in here. However, we do still also have some soft touch materials. Again, the 4Runner will come as a platinum model, so I am interested to see what that looks like. But something that we don't have in Land Cruiser is this stuff over here. The 4Runner you could get with auxiliary switches and stuff. We do have the TRD light bar on this model because it is a TRD Pro. But as we sit on into the inside, you're gonna notice that we have a nice big 14-inch screen, the same 12.3-inch screen right there. Our steering wheel looks just like the Tundra, Sequoia, and Tacoma. And same with all this stuff down here, very rugged kind of shift lever. Our 4-wheel drive system is right here. It is a part-time 4-wheel drive, like I had mentioned, with the ability to go into 4 high and 4 low. All of our stuff here standard on the TRD Pro model and also TRD off-road models. But with the TRD off-road, you will have to opt for a stabilizer disconnect bar if you want. But the 4Runner only has a rear locker versus a center locking diff. That center locking diff will be available on all-wheel drive models. I believe the Limited Hybrid will be able to have that, and also the Platinums. I'm not sure if the Limited will be like the Tacoma where you can opt for an all-wheel drive model if it's just the iForce, but I believe with Limited Hybrid and also Platinum Hybrid, that would come standard. The nice thing with the 4Runner too is that you have a shelf over here, which the Land Cruiser does not. However, a lot of plasticky, more materials, but it does feel a bit more solid than the Tacoma does since the 4Runner is made in Japan. Center console wise, same as the Tacoma, decent size of space in here. But again, I don't have exact dimensions on the 4Runner yet, but height wise, I do feel that this is a bit less than the Land Cruiser is. Width-wise, about the same. The 4Runner is a little bit wider than the Land Cruiser just because of its hips externally, but interior-wise, I would say it feels about the same. Also, with the interior, a bit more rugged just carrying that thing because the Land Cruiser, even though, you know, it's a bit more affordable than the 200 series, it still is a bit bougier. But the 4Runner 2, nice soft touch right here, and the seats look the exact same as the Land Cruisers, right? But what you will notice back here is our HVAC, unfortunately, is down here. And unless the Platinum 4Runner has rear vents, like 3-zone climate control, I'm pretty sure that the 4Runner will only have dual zone climate control. But our seats, they will fold the exact same way. They tumble down, go this way, because the 4Runner you can actually get with a third row, not on hybrid models. So on Tier D off-road versions of the 4Runner with no hybrid batteries, or also the limiteds with no hybrid batteries as well. However, back here, I feel like, oh, that's kind of cool. However, you do have storage right here. I just noticed too that this is like a little shelf that you can actually kind of put up for some stuff. So these are pre-production, but there's some storage right there, which is nice. And then the back too, because the 4Runner can come as a 3-row, they still do have the cup holders, but they don't look exactly like cup holders, which I actually like, versus on the Land Cruiser, they still look like cup holders, even though we don't have a third row. But as we come to the back, the 4Runner does finally, for the 6th generation, have an automatic hatch. And the storage situation going on in the back, this one being a hybrid, I like a little bit better. This just feels a bit more solid than the Land Cruiser because it's an actual kind of lever system. We have our startup battery here, bottle jack up there, and again, just another look at the storage and kind of molly panel situation. So which one would you pick, guys? Again, to summarize, the Land Cruiser is a bit more premium, right? And you have different options too. You could get a cheaper one, but I feel like these top of the line models are gonna be very, very close in price. I think that this Tier D Pro is, as bad as it sounds, and I don't want it to be true, is gonna be close to $70,000. And if you get a fully equipped Land Cruiser with pretty much every option, like a premium Land Cruiser grade, it's very close to about that same price. A lot of similarities with them, but they will be tuned differently. They'll perform differently off-road. So those are more tests that we get to do in the future. But at least right now, we get to somewhat see them side by side. So again, let me know which one you would pick down in the comment section, and I will catch you all in the next one.